Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. In today's video, we are going to study about conducting materials. The learning outcomes from this video is, at the end of this video, we'll have an idea about what are conducting materials, what are the required properties in a conducting material, and finally some examples of these electrical conducting materials and their applications. So let's begin. Electric conduction is one of the most important property in electrical engineering material that needs to be studied. This property, that is electric conductivity, depends upon the presence of free electrons in an atom of a material. Electric conductivity is the property by virtue of which a material can transmit electric current when an electric field is applied across it. These materials play a very important role in electrical engineering and technology. For example, when you want to design electric machinery or a power system, we require knowledge of the excellent conductors in order to minimize losses in power lines and machineries. Similarly, we need to have idea about the resistances that these materials offer when we use them to produce heaters, incandescent light bulbs, etc. Thus, study of conducting materials and their various properties will definitely help us to achieve the knowledge about them and decide which material is to be used at what place when you design any electrical system or equipment. Now, what are conducting materials? Conductors are materials that allow electricity to flow through them. They conduct electricity because they have free electrons on its surface that can move easily from one atom to another, which allows current to pass through them easily in a direction opposite to that of electron flow. This is the reason why conductors are able to conduct electricity. To understand the presence of free electrons on the surface of conducting material, let's first understand the atomic shell structure. For this, we take the example of copper atom. It is one of the good conductors of electricity that is commonly used in electrical engineering. Now, the atomic number of copper metal is 29. To study the atomic shell structure, we need to have an idea about the atomic number and how these electrons of copper atom are arranged in the atom. We need to study about that. So, in an atom, we have studied that electrons revolve around the nucleus, which is the positive charge made up of protons and neutrons, in particular orbits, or you can say shells. Now, the number of electrons in each orbit is given by the formula 2 into n square, where n is the number of orbit, that is the position of each orbit from the nucleus. The first orbit being named as K, second orbit being named as L, then M, and so on. Now, when we consider copper metal, we know its atomic number is 29, and according to the above given formula, when the electron distribution is performed, we'll find that the K shell, that is the first shell or the orbit, will accommodate 2 electrons, second one will accommodate 8 electrons, third one will accommodate 18 electrons, and finally the fourth one will be left with only 1 electron. But according to the formula, it should have more electrons. So since it is not able to satisfy the number of electrons that is required as per the formula, this presence of only a single electron or incomplete number of electrons in its outermost shell will make copper atom in an unstable condition. When the atom is in unstable condition, its requirement is to get stabilized. So how it turns to get stabilized is either by losing an electron or by gaining electrons, whichever is easy. Now, for copper atom to gain electrons, which is required according to the formula, is more as compared to the number of electrons that it needs to remove from its shell is only 1. So removing an electron from its orbit is easier for the copper atom. So there we are left with 1 free electron, which can be easily detached from the atom of a copper metal. Now, since this particular electron is present in the outermost shell, which is quite far from the nucleus, so the bonding between the nucleus and the shell is comparatively weaker, and whenever a small amount of energy is supplied, it will be easier for the single electron, which is loosely attached to the nucleus, to leave its orbit and become free. The electron in the outermost orbit is termed as valence electron. It is the presence of this electron that determines the conductivity property of any material. As it is in the outermost shell, as said, it is weakly attracted by nucleus, hence its detachment is easy from the parent atom. A slight application of external energy will be sufficient to remove this electron from shell and make it free. In a material, when we consider, we have many such atoms, and all these atoms are going to contribute large number of free electrons, and these free electrons will help in creating current flow in conductors. So this way the current is flowing in a conductor. The energy that these electrons now require to create this current flow, that is to remove these electrons or these free electrons from its outermost shell and become free, is called the band gap energy. It represents the minimum energy that is required to excite an electron up to a state in the conduction band where it can participate in conduction. Or we can say that it is the energy that is required to promote a valence electron bound to an atom to become a conduction electron, which is free to move within the crystal lattice and serve as a charge carrier to conduct electric current. Now, if we consider the energy band gap diagram for a conductor, when an electron gets excited due to electromotive force or thermal effect, it moves from its valence band to conduction band. So, what is a conduction band? Conduction band is the band where this electron gets its freedom to move anywhere in the conductor. The conductor is formed of atoms, thus as a whole, the conduction band is in abundance of free electrons. Electrical conductor atom must have no energy gap between its valence band and conduction band. They always overlap each other, which can be easily seen in this diagram, as compared to insulators or semiconductors, where there is always some gap between the valence band and the conduction band called the band gap. If we consider our conductor, they are always almost overlapping each other. Therefore, a very small amount of energy will be sufficient enough to push the free electrons into its conduction band. So this is the way how electricity is being conducted. The conductors are able to conduct electricity. Okay, now we'll see some of the properties that is required in these conducting materials. Conducting materials should be having proper resistance, inductance, then the electric field inside the conductor is zero, which permits the electrons to flow in them. The charge density inside the conductor is zero. Free charge exists only on the surface of the conductor, and the conductor at the surface have an electric field normal to the surface. A conductor at all points has equal potential. These are some of the properties that we'll see in conducting materials. Now, when we want to make a choice whether which conducting material has to be used for which purpose, what are the basic properties of a conducting material that we keep in our mind? First property is resistivity of that material. A good conductor of electricity or a good conducting material should have low resistance or high conductivity. Similarly, the temperature coefficient of resistance should be low. Resistance against corrosion should be high. That is, it should resist corrosion. It should be easy to solder and weld so that it could be useful in making different parts of our machines or transmission system, whatever. It is easily able to draw or roll and made into different shapes. That is, it should have good ductility property. Then it should be mechanically strong, flexible. That is, it should not break easily whenever force is applied. It should be durable. In whichever condition it is made to work, it should be durable in those working conditions. It should be cheap in price and its availability should be easily available to us. Then it should be resistant to chemical and weather. Okay, it is a different conditions where this particular material is to be used. Depending upon its working environment, it should offer proper resistance to any kind of chemical reaction or changing weather, so that it has a long durability, or it has a long lifespan. So these are some of the points that we keep in mind when we select a particular conducting material. Now, examples of good conducting materials that we use in electrical engineering are silver, gold, copper, aluminium. Now, since silver and gold are comparatively quite costly from copper, their use is limited, and we basically focus on copper and aluminium, which are comparatively cheaper. Now, when we try to classify the conducting materials on the basis of resistivity, we can classify them into two categories. One is low resistance or high conductivity material, and the second is high resistivity and low conductivity material. The materials that come under low resistivity, high conductivity are copper, aluminium, gold, and silver. And the ones that come under high resistivity are tungsten, carbon, manganese, nichrome, etc. So depending upon our requirement, these conducting materials are selected on the basis of this property and used for making different electrical parts. Now, the materials, when classified on the basis of their area of application, the conducting materials are required in electrical engineering to be used as conductor for coils of electrical machines. Then for making heating elements, they are used for making lamp filaments. Then conducting materials are required for transmission lines, for making bimetals, then for electrical contact. Then electrical carbon materials are there for making different parts of machines, electrical machines. Then materials that are used for making brushes in electrical machines. Materials that we use for making fuses in electrical engineering. Okay, so these are some of the areas of application of materials in electrical engineering. Now, accordingly, what materials are used and what property is required to be used in these different areas. Materials having low resistivity or high conductivity such as copper, silver, aluminium can be used for making coils for electrical machines. However, looking to the optimum conductivity, mechanical strength and cost, copper is much suitable for making coils for electrical machines. Materials having high resistivity or low conductivity such as nichrome, kanthan, etc. are used for making heating elements. The materials used should also have high melting point. It should be free from oxidation in operating atmosphere, should have high tensile strength and sufficient ductility to draw the metal or alloy in the form of wire. Materials having high resistivity or low conductivity such as carbon, tantalum, tungsten, etc. are used for making incandescent lamp filaments. These materials should also have high melting point, low vapor pressure, should be free from oxidation in inert gas medium at operating temperature, should have low thermal coefficient of expansion, low temperature coefficient of resistance, have high Young modulus and tensile strength, sufficient ductility so that it can be drawn in the form of very thin wire. It should have the ability to be converted into the shape of a filament, should withstand high fatigue when induced to fluctuating stresses, and the cost should also be minimum. Materials used for making conductor for transmission line should have high conductivity, high tensile strength, high resistance to corrosion, high thermal stability, low coefficient of thermal expansion, lightweight and low cost. Most commonly used materials for transmission line are copper, aluminium, cadmium copper alloys, phosphor bronze, galvanized steel, steel core copper, steel core aluminium, etc. Many combination of metals with different coefficient of linear thermal expansion can be used to form bimetals. Some of the common combinations for bimetallic strips are iron nickel constant, and high coefficient of linear thermal expansion is offered by them. Then alloy of iron and nickel, which offer low coefficient of linear thermal expansion. The successful operation of electrical contacts is a function of various factors. While selecting a suitable material for making electrical contact, we have to consider contact resistance, contact force, voltage, and current. The most commonly used material for this purpose are silver, copper, gold, platinum, etc. Tungsten, nickel, graphite, and molybdenum are materials that enhance the structural properties of highly conductive metals, and some are used individually for specialized contacts and components. Next, we have carbon. Carbon is widely used in electrical engineering. Electrical carbon materials are manufactured from graphite and other forms of carbon. They are used for applications such as for making filament of incandescent lamp, for making electrical contacts, for making resistors, for making brushes in electrical machines such as in DC machines, alternators, for making battery cell elements, carbon electrodes, arc lighting and welding electrodes, component for vacuum valves, tubes, for making parts of telecommunication equipments, etc. For making brushes in electrical machines, we use carbon, natural graphite, electrographite, metal graphite, copper, etc. These materials should have good contact resistance, thermal stability, lubrication properties, mechanical strength, and low brittleness. The fuse element should have low resistance to avoid the undesirable voltage drop across the fuse element. So it should affect the normal functioning or performance of circuit or device or equipment. And low melting point, the fuse element must have low melting point so that it will blow out due to heating by excess current during overload or short circuit. Some of the elements that we basically use for this purpose are aluminium, lead and tin, copper, silver, roses alloy, wood alloys, etc. So this is all about what are conducting materials, few of its properties that we look when we need to select them, and then few examples of materials that we choose for making different parts in an electrical machine or for designing a transmission system, and what are the basic properties that these different materials should have so that they can be selected for any particular requirement. Hope you liked today's video. Thank you and have a nice day.